Okay, I'm going to start recording again and I'm going to share my screen. Hello and welcome to everybody. We're going to start with sharing our wins. So why is this? Here we go. All right, so let me just get everyone's faces so I can see everyone. All right, Suzanne, do you want to start with your win?
Okay. Look, to be honest, I've had a very good week. So I just say, look, everyone's getting on really well and connection is there, and I haven't had any dramas as such. So yeah, I'm just riding the wave. Everything's good for me. I can't complain.
Okay, so try and think about something that was really positive, something that you'd like to celebrate, something that you'd like to share. Like, yeah, this, like you said, everything's connection's good.
Yeah.
Like this one incident where that really shined, or, was it after school one day? Was it something with your husband? Was it something with the cat?
What can I say? Oh, look, we went to the beach and, I went with Lavinia and her friends and I, it was windy yesterday. Let me tell you, if you saw me, you would be laughing because I had a beach tent up and I was like, I'm not leaving this beach. I was working against the wind because it actually wanted to fly away. But I was in my head, I was like, no, Suzanne, we're going to go for 2 hours and see what happens. I'm going to teach resilience. I'm not going to let the weather show that I can't go to the beach and have a good time with Lavinia and her friends. So I think, it was a win. Like, she was a bit like, oh, after the few hours, she's like, oh, I don't know if I like the beach. I think I'm a pool person. But it was like, I could have easily just turned around and said, oh, it's too windy. It's not a beach day. But I think I was trying to set the example that when we make a commitment, we follow through. So yeah, maybe that's a win for me.
Yeah, that's a big win.
I could have easily just gone, oh, this is still too hard.
That's a huge win. All right, who have I got next? Jen, you're next on my screen.
My win was, I think the first week of opening up the social distancing and the lockdown, we caught up with a couple of friends, and then by that week I was super tired and I was feeling very drained because I'm a very big introvert. And on the weekend came and we were meant to go camping with like our friends, like our group of friends and their families.
Yeah.
And like my gut was telling me not to go. Like my gut was just saying, wouldn't it be nice if you just like laid in bed? So then I told Ben that I just didn't feel it. Like I just couldn't imagine myself camping with so many people. And if he could just take Dylan and I'd be at home with like the 1-year-old Caleb. And Ben was really good with it. And so I had a weekend with just me and the baby in peace.
That's beautiful.
For you. And you learned to say no. And that's
I know, because usually I'm a big people pleaser.
I know.
Like the people pleaser in me is bigger than the introvert in me. So I would just go for the sake of going. But I just I had to listen to my body and just be like, no, I just need that energy to recharge, because I've been out with seeing people too much.
Yeah,
it does. It feels like an overload, doesn't it? It's tiring. Even I was tired when I got from the beach home. Yeah, it's tiring. Good on you.
I love that win. That's a beautiful win, Jen. Thank you for sharing that. Christy, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, my gratitude practice this week made a huge impact on all of us. So I really enjoyed that. And just staying, it helped me to stay calm and through all the chaos, and yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Just a little, how something so little can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chrissy. That's beautiful. Stacey, you're next on my screen.
I think I've got a couple, but I think I'll just sum it up in that I've just noticed I've been joining in with the giggles a lot more, with the girls' giggles, and just being a bit more playful, and it might be that I'm sort of tuning in more to each moment and being a bit more present, but I've noticed myself giggling a lot.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that, because we forget as adults to have fun, and kids are just in the moment laughing about everything, and so they show us how to bring that joy back in. So that's beautiful practice. Thank you for sharing. And beautiful Amber, what have you got for us today?
Well, we were tracking really well, actually, and I felt that right up until Friday, I could really see Sebastian's confidence really improving. He ended up getting an award at school and had to go up in front of, I don't know how many kids are at his school, 500 kids or something, and get his little award. And I know, well, months ago he would never have done that.
That is a win.
And he felt really, settled in himself. Yeah, until Saturday, but that's not a win. But before, up until then, we were tracking very, very well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that's amazing because, you know, obviously I know that Sebastian has some stuff, and so for you to be able to give him that confidence to be able to walk up in front of the school and have all the eyes on him and to accept it, that's really, like, that's well done. High fives, chocolate dessert, whatever you want, you know, type thing. That's
that was big. It was big for him.
But you know, as with all the highs, sometimes they come crashing down. So there might have been some thought monsters and some worry afterwards and some other stuff going on that maybe he, you know, as he got there, the anxiety was so high in him, and then the next day he might have crashed. I'm not sure what happened, but take, as you said, focus on the win, and focus on those small steps of progress, because that's what's really important here. Because if we focus, as you said, on the negatives, then we miss out on seeing all the good things that happen. And that's why I love that Christy mentioned that her gratitude practice actually changed her week, because she was focusing on the good, and it does make a big difference. That's a huge win. I love that. All right, my win. What's my win for the week? My win, let me see. Well, my kids each month, my kids and I, well, at the start of the year, we split the months up. So everyone has a couple of months, and we write on a piece of paper a family activity that we're going to do, and then we put them in the envelopes, and when that month comes, we open up that envelope. So I have no idea what my kids have written on these envelopes. you know, while we've been in lockdown, we had to do a home roller skating party because we couldn't go roller skating. We had to do, because my son wanted to do laser tag, but we had to do like a Nerf war thing at home. What else did we do? I think we were supposed to go to the drive-ins, but we just did a movie night at home. And then November, the one that came out this November, was a chocolate breakfast. So my win was that I was able to not get caught up in, oh my God, what are they eating? And just because I said, right, Dan, what are we getting? So I got them to write the list, because I'm very about nutrition. So I was able to let that go, and we had the chocolate breakfast, and they had donuts and biscuits and cakes and pretzels and
like a high tea,
strawberries and everything chocolate. And afterwards, for about, particularly my daughter who has ASD, an hour after, so my son crashed and he started crying. My ASD daughter, she went hypo, and she's running around making as much noise as possible, and I was just just breathe, Amanda. My win was that we had the chocolate breakfast. I didn't lose my shit, even though everyone was all up in the air and different emotions. I was this is why I don't let them have sugar. See, you've got a good reason. But yeah, no. So my win was we actually, came together as a family and really enjoyed having that time together, and that quality bonding time, and me not getting in my head about, oh, they shouldn't be having this for breakfast, and what's gonna, and I didn't even think about, I didn't get caught up in the what's gonna happen after they have it and worry about that. I just enjoyed that moment of the chocolate breakfast. Yeah, afterwards, as Amber said, afterwards it can be a disaster, but in the moment it was really lovely and we had a good time. So I guess that's my win, that I was able to focus. I didn't future think. I didn't, and that didn't cause worry. And then I was in the moment and enjoyed the moment, because sometimes what we do is we future think and then we miss out on enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
All right, Suzanne, do you want to quickly go over review last week?
Yeah, just pull them out. Okay, so owning the shadows. So we needed you to, if you had time to reflect or just catch yourself, be aware of when the shadow, shows itself in your words or your expression or your tone of voice. There was a bit of practice talking about self-care. So just again, making time throughout the week or making a daily practice, whatever you can do, just to something to reset and boost yourself, fill up your bucket, and self-love. So I sent that song. I don't know if anyone saw it, The Greatest Love of All. Those lyrics are amazing.
Yeah.
Listen to it, read it, because that is all about the self-love of expression. If you had time, there was a love language. There was the quiz that you could do with yourself, your partner, and your kids, just to get an understanding of what's their currency, to have that connection with you. Special time. So if you had time with your kids, if you've got a couple of them, making time throughout the week, saying this is the roster, I'm going to do special time with Billy from, this time to this time, and the other children have to just wait. The winner methods, that was when you had to witness, inquire. I don't know, remember off my heart. Was it neutralize?
Neutral, negotiate.
Yeah, negotiate. Empathize.
Yeah.
And then repeat, rehearse or something like that at the end. So if you get a chance, like if you feel like, oh, I'm going to be in a funny or challenging situation, remind yourself, I've got the winner method. I can give this a go. Yeah, just be open to it, be curious to see where it will take you. And then, if you had time, try and, Amanda's got that beautiful audio of her voice. So, that doesn't take long to listen to, or get onto an app where you can get up in the morning, first thing, put on a meditation. But even gratitude journals, you could do it in the morning or in the afternoon, or before bed. Just like Christy said, just making that little bit of time to learn to appreciates your well-being and your view of the world. Yeah. So that was week 2.
Is everyone getting the follow-up emails so that it recaps the week and then has the link to the meditation, the link to like an extra video and stuff? Everyone's getting that?
Yeah.
Yep, excellent. Okay, good. All right, so as always, we will begin our session with some meditation. So if you want to turn your cameras off, you're more than welcome to get into a comfortable position. So first week, we just focused on the breath. Last week, we focused on using the anchor of sound. And this week, we're going to use the anchor of mantra. So a mantra is when our minds get distracted, we use mantra to help bring our focus back to the present. And so you can use any word that you want. And this is a really good thing for if you're trying to stay like calm in a moment. So there's all chaos going around. You can feel yourself getting really overwhelmed. Connecting to the breath and using a word is a really good tool. And it might be just breathe, breathe, breathe. It could be just, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. It can be a word, a sentence, an affirmation, whatever you want to use as a mantra. So tonight we'll use I think I've got a couple of different ones here, just to sort of give you practice with that in a meditation space. So getting into a comfortable position, placing your feet gently on the ground if you're seated, sitting in an upright position or lying with your spine so that it is straight, and just release and relax the shoulders. You can squeeze them up to the ears and then just drop them down, or maybe roll them back and just allow them to relax, and gently close the eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Releasing and relaxing the jaw and the brow. And we'll begin as always by taking 3 deep breaths in, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So let's breathe in and releasing through the mouth. And breathing in, letting go through the mouth. Last breath in through the nose, filling up the lungs as much as you can. And when you're ready, slowly releasing out through the mouth, letting go, dropping down here into this space. And just allowing the breath to return back to its regular breathing pattern. And we're just going to focus on the breath for a few moments now. So once again, finding your anchor. And your anchor is where you feel the breath the most. Is it at the nostrils? Is it in the chest? Or is it in the belly? There's no wrong or right point. There is just what you feel in this moment. So finding the breath, noticing where it sits, watching its flow. And if the mind wanders away with a thought or a worry, rumination, coming back to the breath. Watching the in, the pause, the out, the pause. Watching the cycle, using it as an anchor to this moment. And you may notice that your focus has drifted off. And that's perfectly okay. And this is your brain at work, as your brain is doing what it's meant to do. But allowing those thoughts to release now, bringing awareness back to the breath. I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. Just focusing on the breath and its movement in the body. So we're going to introduce our mantra now. And as I said, a mantra can be a word, a sound, or a phrase repeated to aid you in concentration while meditating. And today we're going to use a word to help us focus. And the word we're going to use is present. You can use this word in any way you like. I will give you 2 ways. So anytime you notice the mind wandering away, you just catch the thought, allow it to release, and then repeat to yourself, present, present, and return back to the breath, continually repeating the present. And the second way is that you can just use the word as a continued repetition. And so instead of using the breath as an anchor, you use the word present. And just repeating that gently in the mind to keep you focused in the moment. Present, 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 present. So just try both ways and see which one feels right for you. And then use that as a way of anchoring yourself to the present moment. If you find the the mind has got caught up in something else. Just being aware of that and coming back to the mantra. Present, 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 present. And it is now time. Return back to this time and space. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bowl. And when the sound of the bowl ends, it's time to return back. You can gently awaken the body by stretching the body in any way that feels comfortable and opening the eyes. You're taking your time to come back. Is this you or me, Suzanne?
Okay. Continue on. They'll hear my giggle and they'll get back. I do letting go. Is anyone there? They're coming back.
What's happened?
Are they coming back or are they just watching from a distance? We don't see their faces.
What do you mean?
Oh no, normally you see their faces, so it's just us talking. They're watching, obviously, the group.
What can you see on your screen?
I see letting go off, but normally I see everyone's faces. They're not there. It's just you and me.
Oh, that you need to just change your setting.
Oh, okay.
That's your setting. That's a personal setting.
Oh, all right.
That you can change.
Oh, okay.
So you can
I must have speaker view. Maybe I have speaker view. That's probably what it is.
So
now I can see everybody.
Now you can see everybody? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So letting go. So this is a chart that we've put together because in everything, I think you've learnt by now from last week, our shadow likes to hold on to things and it can cause resistance. So letting go is letting go of these expectations of yourself. So we'll say myself, expectations of my child, the judgment, the comparing and the worrying. So let's use Amanda's example with the chocolate breakfast. She would have had expectations. I'm a mother and I shouldn't be serving chocolate for breakfast. And then you could have gone into catastrophic thinking of, oh my gosh, if these children have chocolate for breakfast, they're going to drive me up the wall and they're going to be bouncing and they're going to be high. So it's like that could have taken her out of the moment, but she let go. She just said, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. This is what the request was. I'm not going to refuse it. But in your head, had you been an unconscious mother, you would have judged yourself. You would have said, this is bad. I can't believe I've tried to get rid of sugar all these years. And here again, I'm bringing sugar back into the house. I'm comparing myself. My gosh, Suzanne would never serve chocolate for breakfast. You know, like you could have gone spiraling into this worrying and this comparison of what makes you a good mother. You know, if I serve this type of breakfast, and then worrying, you could have gone 2 hours in the future and thought, oh no, this could be a real disaster. You know, someone's going to cry, someone's going to be running around the house, someone's going to have a meltdown. So by letting go of all that, you were able to just be with the as is, be with the as is, be in the present moment, be fully present in the here and now. And I think a lot of us as parents, we do get carried away with this because we find it hard to let go. We have such strong core values and beliefs about what we think it is to be a good parent, what we think it is to be a good mother. And we get hung up on that, and that can cause us the greatest resistance and greatest challenge between not even ourselves, but also our partner and our children. They can cop it, because if we're not confident in ourselves to just be with the as is and to see it unfold, and as you said to Christy before, just be curious about what's going on for them. It makes the journey of motherhood quite difficult. You're constantly in battle. So letting go, it's something you've got to practice. And I've learned over time as well in this sort of journey to be consciously aware that you are in resistance. It's hard to let go because you feel like you're failing, or you feel like you're not doing it right. And I learned very quickly now, doing this style of parenting, that I don't need to compare myself to anyone. I do what feels right for me, and it's an intuitive thing. And I think when you get to know your kids and the dynamics of your family, you forget about the outside world. You can just stay in your own sort of space and go, well, what is my values? What is true for me? And make that your way of being authentic in yourself. Because the moment you start to compare yourself to the outside, then you're just heading into a suffering, a sort of zone where you're never going to be happy, because that's what happens when you start to compare and worry and judge. You start to go through this cycle of needless worrying and suffering.
Yeah. So have a think about those. Which one do you think is the biggest thing that you need to let go of? And either unmute and let us know, or maybe type in the comments and say, yeah, I know for me, the biggest one I need to let go of is expectations of myself, because I expect myself to be a certain way and to, parent a certain way, and, show the world a certain, I guess, persona of what a good mother is. Like if I'm teaching parenting, then I have to make sure that I'm doing all the right things and I'm, getting everything right, and I don't. And, prime example today was, my daughter she was a bit funny, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And we just had her dinner, and I could see she was sitting there quite quiet, not really engaging. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I sort of said to her, oh, I can see you look like you're struggling with something. And then she sort of held my hand and sort of like pulled me and laid on me, and I was like, okay, just breathe, because that's the sign that something's going to happen when she starts to get physical in a way like that. And I was just like, just breathe, stay calm, don't get caught up in this. And then she actually said something she never says: can we go into another room and talk about it? And I'm like, okay, no problem. So we excused ourselves from the dinner table. And then she told me about some things that happened at school and some worries and stuff. And so in that moment, at the dinner table, I had to let go of expectations of myself, because my mum and my stepdad were here for dinner. And so I had to let go of the expectation, I've got to sit at the table, and my child has to sit at the table, and she has to listen, and we all have to, I let go of those expectations of how I should be when there's a guest in the house. And I was like, and I'm very lucky because my mum is, very understanding with my children. And if I need to engage with them in ways that is not considered the norm, they don't get offended by it, but other people do. So, but I have to let go of what I think other people are thinking. So that judgment also, because what's really important to me is my children, and I value them first. So because they have a higher value to me, I have to be willing to let go of those other things so I can meet their needs. So Stacey, you've got expectations of yourself and child. We do have high expectations of our kids. I do that a little bit with my 14-year-old. Like I'm like, because she's older, I expect more things of her. So I am very mindful of that also. Yeah. Did anyone else want to share?
Yes. I think it might be expectations of my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've never really thought about before. because I think the feeling that I've felt when I feel out of control is embarrassed, which is pretty hard to admit actually, but I think that might be it.
It's good to do that. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
It's good to say it, because when you hear yourself say it, you're like, oh, that's part of your shadow. That's your shadow thoughts. It's not you, Amber. It's your shadow's thoughts of the outside world of what it should be, and a certain child at this age should do this. Yeah. Good on you for being vulnerable to do that.
Well, you know, that will open up some new stuff for you now that you've become aware of that, oh, I have these expectations. And then you can say, are my expectations realistic? Okay, now that I'm actually learning how a child's brain actually works and develops, whether my child has something or doesn't have anything, all children's brains work the same in that way that they grow. Their brains aren't fully formed. Their logic center isn't, you know, anywhere as formed as that their amygdala, where their emotion center is, that fight flight center and the survival center. They're fully formed. They're ready to go into action and into battle any moment. But to get them to think, to use their words, to use their body appropriately, their brain is not designed. Their brain isn't capable of even doing that, but we expect that of them. And just because, you know, like back in our day, or even our parents' day, children were seen and not heard. You sat there and you behaved. You didn't speak. You sat quietly, and if you didn't, you got beaten and put in the corner. You know what I mean? So, you know, because we want to parent differently, and we want to allow our children to be their own sovereign being, but with guidance, because we do need to give them guidance, because their brain isn't fully developed, yes, so they're not always going to understand the consequences of their actions. But that means that them yelling and having a tantrum is okay, because that's normal for every single child to do. What's not normal is for a child not to do that. But we have it switched the wrong way around, you know. So it is tricky, but at least that opens you up to situations of when something's happening and you're feeling frustrated, you can say to yourself, oh, am I expecting too much right now of my child? Oh, I need to let go of this resistance. And you'll find calm in that moment, because you'll let go of that resistance, and you'll see that the situation that might have been something that lasted 2 hours might only last half an hour or 5 minutes or 2 minutes, because half of the reason why the situations last as long as they do is because of our resistance. Well, that's what I found in my situation.
No, it is. I mean, it's the parental ego, you know, because we want to dominate it, and we want it to be scripted. Does that make any sense? If you understand from a deeper level, this is like a big play and everyone's acting, and we're like, no, the child should be like this. It should be acting like this. And when it goes against our expectations, that's where you get that buildup of, I'm disappointed. This is not how I expected the reality to be. So yeah, it's good on you for saying that, because it's once you say it, your week will just unfold very differently, because you'll witness it even more and more as the day goes by.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we have a journaling activity. Did you want to go over this one, Suzanne?
Oh, let's have a read here. I'm going to pull out my book. Hang on.
We're going to page 64 of our journal.
Oh, that's right. I remember this one.
I will bring it up. Let me share it.
So it's a bit of writing. This is, now we've got to tap into that space of the inner child.
Can you see that, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that page, this activity is designed to bring awareness to the emotional space you grew up in during your early childhood. So we need to reflect on the adults who looked after you and were present in your life at this time. And this is quite a key area, baby to 6 years of age. Okay, so it's really, we're going to have to really think now, but it's just highlighting some key emotional events that occurred during your childhood, and you can just do it in a bullet point. So, I mean, for Amanda, her one was the parents' divorce. That is like a big standout for her. So I suppose it's just looking at your life and understanding that our birth and our whole life up until this point has been based on patterns. And, you know, there's feelings and changes, and that's what's, that becomes our reality. We're sort of stuck in a loop, and we're having all these lessons that keep coming up, and we need to learn from them. But our whole experience, our whole reality is based on past experiences, okay? And so what we're trying to say to you is just by doing this activity, it gives you an idea of what was my emotional climate during my early childhood. I know for me, mine's really weird because my parents were like full-time workers back in the day in the, early, well, I was born in 76. So, childcare wasn't like what it is today, let's face it. So my mum, I don't think she took much time off, to be honest. She probably just took a few months, but she found someone to look after me. And I have been in care with other people, and there was no checks in those days. It was just someone that, oh yeah, you're a similar culture to me. Well, you look like a good person. And so who knows what I've been experienced, but I just remember always being dropped off early morning and picked up late in the afternoon. And I went through a bit of separation anxiety. I was very close to my mum, quite clingy. Maybe there was that fear of who's going to come and pick me up? Am I going to get collected? Who knows? But I know that for me, that must have had some impact for me because, I was just like handed to different homes and I was just raised in that sort of environment. So it's just looking at what was the emotional climate, even what your parents were like as they interacted with each other or with you. We talked about the mothers and the fathers pattern of how you were raised. So
that's the next question, Suzanne.
Yeah. So let's go to that. So let's go to 65. What was my mum's emotional patterns? How would you describe her? Was she a nurturing, mothering figure, very soothing? Or was she just very like, what we talked about, those different styles of parenting, did the bare minimum, or maybe she was narcissistic, whatever it is, just highlighting key words, what comes to you really quickly, like what do you remember? Well, how did you perceive your mother as a little girl?
And this is not necessarily like emotionally. You might see like, my dad was smart. He was intelligent. He was a businessman. He was always busy, so it's just, if you were to describe your parent in some way, what words would you use?
Yeah. And I would even go down to the culture and, even if they were quite religious, some of us have been raised with quite domineering religious values. So thinking about that, did I have to go to church every weekend? Was she I know my mum used to do this thing. It was really weird. I'm just going off the tangent, but it's quite funny. She used to do this evil eye ritual. It was so weird. Like she used to collect these spices and then she'd like put it in a cloth and she'd make my brother and I kneel at this sort of, we had like this, I don't call it an altar, that's a weird word, but it was a brick sort of shelf in our lounge room and she had a picture of Jesus and Mary and whatever. And I just remember her sort of doing these mantras and it was like a ritual, like to protect us, from the evil eye. And I was like, what is this? And I remember asking her when we were a lot older, but she sort of brushed it off. But obviously she had a fear that maybe people were having bad thoughts about us or just giving us a sense of protection. So that was my childhood memory, her telling me, come into the lounge, we have to do this. And I was like, oh, what's going on? So they're just like little things that I remember about her. So she was a bit of a warrior.
Yeah, so write down, so for the first one, write down all those moments that you can remember. Big things that happen, even if you can't remember it. Like I obviously can't remember my parents divorcing, but I know that happened. My dad getting remarried, my mum getting remarried, things like that. It could be being bullied at school. It could be your brother or sister being born. Because that's
quite traumatic. Apparently that's a really traumatic thing when siblings come along.
Especially if you're the eldest. Because you've had your parents to yourself all this time and someone's come in, so things like that. The reason why we want you to do this is there's a lot of scientific evidence about the child's brain from 0 to about 7 years old being in a state of theta. So that's the brain wave length that the brain is sitting in, and the theta brain wave. Sorry, tongue twister. Brain wave length is actually the state of when we just fall into sleep or hypnosis. So what's happening is we're in this state from 0 to 7 of hypnosis. So we're absorbing everything in without thinking, without reasoning. We have no thinking, no logic, no reasoning at this stage. We're just absorbing everything. So anything we come into contact, that's now our belief. That's now what we think. That's now who we are. Yeah. So whether it's coming from somewhere else, or we've misinterpreted a situation and we've made a story about ourselves, these then are the foundations of our beliefs.
Yeah,
And
the core
because
values.
they're foundations of our beliefs, what we're asking you to is go back to that time. So you can think about those big situations that could have had an impact, that could have started creating these beliefs that are holding you back now in your life.
Yep.
And the reason why we do it through parenting is because your children trigger those traumas from your 0 to 7 year childhood thing, and they trigger them, and they're like something, if it's a self-worth thing or a self-love thing or a self-doubt thing or a self-confidence thing, self whatever it is, it gets triggered now, but it's the initial hurt came 95% of the time from that period. And then every time throughout your life you felt that way, that belief has gotten bigger, gotten stronger, and makes you feel more shittier.
Very true, very true.
So so it's really
and
important.
then
You might not be able to think of everything. You might want to have a chat with your mum or your dad and ask them, oh, what was my childhood? What are some big things that happened? You know, like there could have been a bushfire near you. There could have been, you could have been in a car accident. There could be lots of little things that you
even like moving
even
home,
know.
that could be like instability, like moving houses all the time.
Changing
Some
schools.
kids, changing schools,
Yeah. So just
and then obviously you go on to the next bit, which is your father's emotional patterns, which we talked about. So it's just identifying what was their personality, how they interact with you. My dad's one that I was firm, fair, and friendly. That's what he always says. I was firm, fair, and friendly.
But that's how your dad would describe himself. How would
exactly,
you describe your
exactly,
dad?
yeah. And you know what he really was? He's firm, fair, and friendly, and he was funny too. But yeah, I mean, I can see it from a different angle. That was his persona, the man, you know. I'd bring the bacon home and mum would do all the other stuff. So yeah, I don't say I was raised by my father. I would say I was raised by my mother, because he never cooked me a meal, never. I don't think my mum ever left him home alone with us. It was very mother. Mother did all that.
All right, so you just got about another minute to write that down. If you've got any questions or need anything answered, just unmute or type in the message box for us, and I will share this again.
I've done that,
I don't think I put the music on this. Did I put the music on this? Because I couldn't get it soft. You know how I tried to put it on last time? Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next slide. All right, I just need to move everybody's faces. Sorry, so I can see this. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at each of these pictures and imagine that this is a picture of you and your child. And I want you to immerse yourself in each of the situations, and maybe just write down in your journal or on a piece of paper, for each picture, what is your feeling? Is there like peace or joy, frustration, overwhelm, calm, annoyance, anxious, worry, anger? So just write down an emotion when you look at that picture. What does it, if that was you, that mum looking at that or being in that, what does it bring up for you? And there's no wrong or right here. You guys might have similar things. You might have completely different things, because depending on your lenses and depending on if you've actually been in those situations, or if you know you have been in that situation but you've done some work on it, those situations will emote different things within you. So we all deal with these similar, we all probably deal with each one of these situations or have been in this situation, but how we view and perceive it depends on how we feel in that moment. So what you write right now might not be the same as what you write tomorrow when you're in the midst of that situation. But I want you to try and put yourself in there and think about what would that feel like. So our perception of a situation is really dependent on how we feel in that moment. And you yourself would know, one day your child drops a glass of milk and it's the worst thing on this earth. You're like, oh my God, what are you doing? I don't have time for this, rah, rah, rah. Next day he drops it. Oh well, I was cleaning up, you know. Like, why is that the case? One day we're in raving.
You think they're irrational.
And I find another thing. One of my children might might hug the dog and hug it rough, and I don't have an issue with it. But another one that does exactly the same thing, like, oh, you know, be careful of the dog. Don't you hurt the dog? You know,
yeah.
Why? They're doing exactly the same thing, but I have a different reaction to each one. So this is an awareness. This is an awareness activity, and it's to teach you to learn how to detach from these key situations that are causing you parental stress. So now what we're going to do is we've seen each picture. Now what I want you to do is think about each picture and look at it and just say pleasant, unpleasant, pleasant, unpleasant, pleasant, unpleasant. And notice the difference. What is the difference for you? When we say, oh, you know, that first, I'm just going to go through one of these so we get an idea of what we're talking about. So that first picture, I'm in bed with my daughter, we're sleeping and snuggling, it's so lovely. You know, I could do this all day. Oh, she's such an angel when she sleeps. Oh, this is, and I want to cling on to this moment. I do not want her to wake up. I do not want things to change. And I'm so in this moment of loving this moment, every minute of it, I get attached to it. And as soon as it changes, I get annoyed, or I get upset, or I get disappointed, or I get frustrated, because that's what I want. I want that every minute of the day, that pure connection, that pure love, that joy for one another. But that's not life. That's unrealistic. So if I go into that situation, instead of, I'm not saying that I'm not going to enjoy it, but if I label it as this is pleasant, when it leaves, I'm not attached to it, because yes, it was pleasant in that moment and I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'm not clinging on to it. And then let's do one that we're not happy with. Okay, so we'll just do the little boy next door to her, the one he looks like he's had a bad morning. He does not want to get dressed for school. Looks like he's probably in the bathroom, probably doesn't want to brush his teeth. He's like cracking it. He's cracking it big time. And so when I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm already feeling stress in my body. I'm like, shit, how am I going to get this kid to school? How am I going to get him dressed? I need to brush his hair. Oh, that's going to be a nightmare because he's going to start screaming when I brush his hair. I can't even get his clothes on. How am I going to get him out the door? At least if he was in his pajamas, I could get him out. He's got no clothes on. And I know he hates brushing his teeth. Brushing his teeth is another drama. So I'm already causing stress. I'm already like attached, and I'm like, this is not a good day. I'm feeling terrible. I'm getting frustrated. I can feel it boiling inside of me. But if I then go the other end, and then instead of being caught up in it, because I'm trying to avoid it, I'm trying to push it away, I've got resistance to it, I'm trying to like do everything I can for that not to happen. If I go in with, okay, this is unpleasant. Do I like the situation? No. But this is what I'm dealing with, and it's unpleasant. I go in with a completely different mindset, a completely different attitude. And it might take me the same amount of time to get him dressed, get his hair brushed, get him into school, but I'm in such a better place. I am not in resistance to it. Therefore, I'm not creating stress in my body, and I'm not getting overwhelmed by the situation and losing it and losing my top, you know, losing it like a dragon.
Not flipping your lid. And I
Not
think
flipping my
also,
lid.
like when you were talking about the other pictures where you gave it descriptive, you were actually creating your own narrative. And I could feel that heaviness and that anxiety. But like I said, and I've always said, you know, our brain doesn't know what to do with the word pleasant and unpleasant. It's never been able to give it a meaning. So when I say those words and I look at that picture, pleasant, unpleasant, pleasant, unpleasant, I don't feel any emotion. Like I actually feel the detachment. It's a really strange feeling. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that, but it's like my brain just goes really still because it's so neutral. It just looks at the picture and just goes, oh, that's unpleasant. Whereas before, like I labeled like, oh, that's so beautiful, it's bliss. Oh, that's really annoying. This is going to slow me down. Like I could actually make narratives for each of those and have feelings behind it because I remember myself going through those, you know, those situations. So it's interesting how that word, it's so powerful when you start using pleasant and unpleasant because it just changes your whole, like it's like that, the boy in the water, like instead of it just toppling over and coming back up, it's sort of just swaying side to side. It's not getting pulled and pushed everywhere. It's a bit more grounded. So definitely try it because I've definitely noticed the difference when I've used those words. It has changed my whole view of it because I don't have anything to set an example. I've got no examples of what is pleasant and what's unpleasant. So yeah.
And where does suffering come from? Suffering comes from either resistance and aversion of something or clinging on to something. So clinging on to the good is just as bad as resisting the bad, I guess. Yeah,
what we think is bad. Again, it's good or bad. It just is.
both of them cause suffering within us. So it's really important that we just enjoy or be present with each moment as we're dealing with it and try and it's not saying that we can't, you know, enjoy that moment and love it, but we don't become attached to it. And it's not that we don't feel frustration and annoyance in that moment, but we don't become attached to it. We use that word pleasant and unpleasant so that we don't get caught up in it. Does that make sense to everybody? Because it's a bit of a different way of thinking about things. It's not like you're being an ice queen. It's just that you're not getting emotionally caught up and then causing stress for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the art of practicing equanimity, which is you can look at it and you can be calm and composed and not swayed into an emotional.
Yeah. So as we were just saying, did you want to go through
that?
Okay.
So we'll define it. So clinging, you know, it's like holding on tightly or being stuck to it or refusing to stop holding. So it's like Amanda said, when we're holding on to this idea or this moment in time, I don't want it to end, you know, you're clinging on to it. That's again going to cause suffering because, you know, it's ebb and flow of life. It's not going to be the same. We have constant, impermanent, and life is always moving and changing and evolving. And then you've got the aversion. So when we push something away, when we have a strong dislike or this unwillingness to do something, then that also can cause us a lot of suffering. So using these words instead helps to neutralize it, helps to just give us that mindfulness practice of pulling away and not getting drawn into the drama, not clinging into the emotional feelings or, you know, belief around it. You're just creating that space, that distance to say, I see you and I may be feeling this, or there is this feeling in the air, but it's unpleasant and it's pleasant. You know, you can just learn to just tone down the volume of what it could be and just bring it back to here and now, just moment to moment.
So, and this helps you in those moments when you are feeling overwhelmed, you know, it allows you to turn the amygdala off or calm it down by using the word unpleasant. Because when the amygdala flips and gets really upset is because the story keeps going on of, oh my God, why is my child doing this? They say, what's wrong with them? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm creating this overwhelm. Whereas if I just go with, oh, this situation's unpleasant. That cereal on the floor is unpleasant. That child not getting dressed is unpleasant.
So it's very factual. See how she just made it really factual? Like it's just a fact. It's just a fact. It just is. It just is.
It's not, And so you state the facts instead of creating stories, and it changes. You don't get worked up by it, because you can see when I'm talking and I'm talking about the story, you can feel the energy coming off me. I can feel it in myself. But when then I say, oh, that's just unpleasant, it just changes. Your body's still in a state of neutral calm. It's not feeling overwhelmed or stressed.
Yeah.
All righty. So validating the self. So this is more work on looking after yourself and the importance of knowing who you are. And there's this quote here from Louise Hayes: "You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." It's a great quote from Louise Hayes.
That's a good, because we're very good at highlighting what's not good about ourselves, but we never look in the mirror and say, "I have a lovely smile. I'm really happy," with like just being able to look at yourself and just look for the good things, or just your personality, what the traits of you that you love about yourself, rather than, "Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that." We're really good at that. So it's learning to validate. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so I'll just call it out. So we've got having the self-gratitude exercise. So, if you're doing the diary or the journal, you could focus on 3 things that went well for the day. So it might be like the choices that you've made and that you're proud of, how far you've come. Even in this course, I mean, we're in week 3. I'm sure you've noticed some changes. But, you pat yourself on the back, for putting yourself out there to come this far. How you've treated yourself with kindness, and just being able to sort of praise yourself and have that ability to sort of self-validate, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you as you are. There's nothing more that you need to do. So the second one is to be there for yourself. So treating yourself as you would your friend. Think about your best friend, and I'm cautious about how I speak to myself now, but back in the day, I would, think, oh, would I say that to my best friend Amanda? Like, thinking about those things. How do you speak to yourself? Sometimes I do, like, I'll make a mess of something and I say it as a joke, but I mean, I have to be mindful of it because I hear my own voice going, "Oh, what a doofus," but I giggle about it. But those are the things, like, if I said that all the time, I would start to believe it. But so just be mindful of what words you say, even when it's a joke. Just, catch yourself and just go, but correct it and say, okay, it was a silly moment. Okay, I learned from it, move on. Because I think some of us really do dig ourselves really deep, and haven't been at that place for a long time, but I know that can get you in a really dark hole, and it's hard to get out when you start to go into that space of not believing in yourself and valuing who you are as a person. So just treat yourself with kindness, and then recognize judgment. So if you are in the habit of feeling bad, or feeling down or insecure, just say it's okay to have these feelings. I'm human, this is part of me, and they're just feelings, and we've talked about it every week. They aren't real. Feelings aren't real. Thoughts aren't real. It's just this mind. It's overactive, and it wants you to believe something other than the person that you are, which is a beautiful energy and a beautiful source of love within. And so that takes a lot of work. So try and just catch yourself. If you are judging, just recognize it, but also learn to sort of pick yourself up and just go, there's no need to do that. Because the more we start to judge, how can we see the world in a better view? Because that's going to be what happens if we start to judge ourselves. It becomes really easy to judge our kids. And that's what I've learned in time with this whole parenting journey. When I let go of the judgment of myself, I'm more accepting of behavior. I'm more accepting of the outside world, of what goes on. And everything's a reflection. So if you're judging yourself, it is a reflection of what you believe outside comes back to you. So it's recognizing where you hold judgment. Is it on yourself or the outside?
Can I just add a sentence to that, Suzanne? I just want to say, and when you are going into that judgy McJudgeson, just say to yourself, I'm doing the best I can with the knowledge and information I have. Because sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. We're all human. We all make mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes. So I now try and see my mistakes as the gold, So instead of seeing my mistakes as the coal, I see it as the gold, because it's a learning moment. Oh, okay. And that was prime thing that my daughter said, oh, I think I've done something wrong. I'm not a good friend. That's why she was upset and wanted to talk to me. And she told me about it. And I said, everyone makes mistakes. Good friends make mistakes, because she thought she was a bad friend because she made a mistake. And I said, we all make mistakes. That's not what makes you a good friend. What can you do to fix this problem? That's what makes you a good friend. So, say that to yourself too. I'm doing the best I can. Forgive yourself and let go of that.
That's good. And then the next one is parenting your inner child. So, this whole journey, we talk about our core or our key teachings, and it is about parenting the self and having that ability to mother that beautiful inner girl within you that was missing those key things that she wanted from her parents, and just realizing when I am struggling or when I'm feeling insecure or feeling powerless, it's that little girl inside of you that wants that protection. It wants to be seen, it wants to be loved, it wants to be soothed, it wants to be secure and safe. And recognizing, oh, that's what's coming up. That's why I'm getting flared up by this child or by my partner, because my inner child feels scared, or it feels worried, that I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. So it's just realizing, where is that coming from, and whether it's a meditation or a journal practice, but even writing to the little girl. What would you tell that little girl within you if you could sit side by side? Because doing that inner work, that's going to help you to become the adult self in time, to grow up. Because like I always said, we're still children stuck in these adult bodies, and we're still parenting from a childhood. Does that make any sense? So that's why our kids are here, to awaken us to where we need to grow up and not pass on our baggage onto them, but work through our baggage, because they don't need our baggage, you understand? Like, they're here to come and experience their own journey. So if we can clean up that and parent the inner child, then that baggage gets lighter and lighter, and to the point that we become the adult self and come from here using our logic center to make wiser choices. And then, as time goes by, asking, what do I need right now? So with Jen, perfect example, she listened to her inner child, her inner self saying, I don't think I want to go camping. I just don't feel it. Because it could be so easy to just go, oh, I'll just go. I feel like I've got to say yes. I don't want to let them down. What will they think of me? But, it takes a lot of courage to say to your partner, can you just go and take the other child and just leave me? Because it feels awkward, especially if you've come from a culture where you've got to go together as a couple. If you don't get seen together, oh, something's going on. What will the people say? Oh, she's not here, because it's true. I get your culture, don't I? So I think, I've had moments like that with Leah. I'm just like, I don't want to go. Can you just go? Because I have to listen to what feels right. And I have this thing like, if it's not a hell holy yes, then don't do it. So I'm just like, good on you for doing that, because that's sticking to your authentic self. It takes a lot of courage, but when you can ask yourself, what do I need right now? And honestly saying, I don't need to be there. Then that's when you really are validating and looking after your needs. And then knowing that you're enough. So knowing that, you're a beautiful person, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. I think as little girls, we were trying to prove. We've been conditioned to be a certain way, and what it makes to be a perfect daughter and a good girlfriend or a good sister. And then, we get married, and what it means to be a good wife and a good mother. And so this is a way we have to just pull back from all those values and culture beliefs and rules that I call them, and just go, I don't need to do that anymore. I need to do what's right for me, and I'm enough as I am. So that takes a lot of courage as well.
So just with knowing you're not enough, it's really interesting. I've been talking to a friend about some stuff that she's writing and journaling on, and we're just talking about being women and how we either feel like if we're not doing everything our family and we're putting ourselves first and doing the things that we need, we see it as being selfish. But the other end of that is that when we do everything for everyone else and leave ourselves out, we're actually self-sacrificing. So we're either one end or the other. We're either self-sacrificing ourselves and not looking after any of our needs, or we're selfish bitch. And this is what we balance between. And we don't want to be the selfish ones, so we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for everybody else. What we're trying to teach you is self-awareness. It's not I'm being selfish. It's not I have to self-sacrifice. Sometimes you may have to use the word and be selfish to look after your needs.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will need to self-sacrifice to look after others' needs, but it's not about being one or the other, because it's about knowing that I'm not being selfish and I'm not being self-sacrificing. I'm being self-aware in my decisions. Oh, this is what I need right now. Okay, sometimes I can't always have what I need right in this moment, but that's okay, because I know that right now my child needs me in this moment, and I'm willing to, my cup's full and I'm willing to support them right in this moment, and then I'll do what I need to do later or whatever. But it's being, when you make that choice, you become empowered. You don't let the choices control you. I guess that's really important. Suzanne, was there a comment?
Yes, just Stacey just put a comment. Let me just read it. I lost it. So you saying, Suzanne, you saying you don't need to prove yourself anymore really resonated with me. That's great. That's powerful. If that hits home to you, then we're on the right frequency together. Because it really is, just letting go of this feeling you've got to be everything for everyone. Look, remember I told you a few weeks ago, look after your own real estate. Look after your own real estate, because that's what matters.
Yeah. All right, so what have we got next? Okay, we've got our next journaling activity. This is on page 67 of your journal. And this is, so you just wrote about your childhood and your parents. Now we'd like you to identify 3 key milestone moments in your childhood that was emotionally disturbing, upsetting, or overwhelming for you. So if you have a look at that, what we're going to do is just take one for now, but you can write the other 2 out later. So look at one there. Take one of those events, and I want you to start journaling in detail about this event. So I'll bring up the journal so we can see it also, what you guys are seeing. And let me go to page 67. Here we go.
Amanda, is it meant to be in that same age bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So one of those key childhood events that you had from that age, if you're finding it difficult to use one of those, then you can use something later on in life that was a big event that you're finding, because what will happen is even if you do an event that's happening now or happened when you're a bit older, eventually you'll find the link back to what the memory was from that other period. So if we can try and start at that period, then we don't have to work back, because to heal a trauma, you have to find where it began. So for that trauma to be healed, you've got to find the initial key. But there might be 5 or 6 big events that made that worse. So you might need to heal those each event separately till you get to that final event. So sometimes it's really hard to get to the underlying cause, so it might take some time. So if you've got something, just whatever you feel that resonates with, something will pop in your mind, like I want to write about this.
Yeah.
So just take that activity and just write in detail about that event. So where it was, who was there, what the smells were, what the tastes were, what actually happened, how you actually felt, how the other person felt, what the outcome was, how it was left. You might describe what you were wearing and how old you were, who was there, anything about it you can remember. You want to bring the whole memory back, because when you can bring it back, then you can start picking it apart. I'm very bad at this. And then as you go through as you finish writing about the event, then I want you to go into the next question was, how did you feel when this event occurred? So you might want to close your eyes and take yourself back to the event. And just think about, okay, what was happening? I can see myself, I was really sad, or I was really frustrated, or I felt ashamed, or whatever it was, and write that down in that box. How did you feel when this event occurred? And then the next question is, how are you feeling now in the present when you think about this event? So you might like to just close your eyes for a moment while you've got this memory, and then just check into the body. Just feel in the body. Can I feel any discomfort in the body? Where is it sitting? And then just think, oh, what is this? What is this sitting in here? Is this still frustration? Is it still feeling shame? Is it guilt? Is it sadness, grief, anger? And just notice how that is presenting itself. It might be the same, or it might be very different from what the child was feeling. And there's no wrong or right here. It's just, we're just trying to delve in and see if we can figure out what this is and where it's come from. And you might not get to the bottom of this right in this moment, and that's okay, because this is some deep work that will take some time to work through and understand. And, you know, through whenever you sort of have a trigger, what you want to do is you want to try and work back, spiral it out, and find its meaning, and then find what that was originally linked to. And then the last question here is I guess the kicker. This is, are there any incidents with your child that make you feel this way? So when my child has a meltdown, I feel embarrassed. When I was a kid, I felt embarrassed. Now, when I have that embarrassment, I feel shameful. Yeah. So I don't want to feel that way. So then, you know, I try and shush my child, and I try and quickly get them in the car and, you know, don't want anyone, you know. So what you're doing is thinking about how, when my child is triggered in some way, or speaking to me in some way, or interacting with me in some way, and I'm feeling triggered, they're the incidents, linking them back to that emotion that you feel. And then what you're looking at is, how does this affect your relationship with your child? Oh, I, you know, pull their hand really tightly and drag them into the car and tell them to be quiet, you know, or I yell at them and explode at them and say, you know, shut up, I don't want to hear
me like that.
Yeah, don't speak to me like that, don't be disrespectful, whatever it might be. Or is it that you know, you're a fleer, you can't deal with it, you run or threaten with your husband, oh, I'm going to get dad, and then you run off because you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really based on, you know, as children, we weren't allowed to process those feelings. We were sent to our room, or we were told, don't you dare, like, you know, don't you cry, put it away. So it's like, because we as children weren't allowed to process those feelings or have those feelings validated, it makes us really uncomfortable. Like, that's why our generation struggle when we see our children have a tantrum or get upset, because we haven't reached that point of processing it and learning to let it pass, so it makes us go, oh, like the shark music in our other workshop. It freaks us out because our parents never gave us that ability to do that. They either smacked us or told us off, or told us to have a stiff upper lip, and this is what happens. It makes us feel very awkward. I love this quote. It's powerful.
You want to read that too?
Yeah, the most important part of parenting with triggers is remembering that you're not having a reaction because your child is behaving a certain way. You're having a reaction because of what that behavior means to you and what is triggered from your own past experience. That's just powerful. When you read that, you just go, it's like the ha moment. Everything is my childhood. It keeps coming up. It keeps coming up because I haven't learned the lesson, or I haven't healed it, or I haven't learned to forgive it and move on.
Is anyone struggling with this activity and needs some help? Or has any question?
I just have a question. Mm-hmm. So I think if I tune into it, I think it's around like not feeling like I had a voice, or being told that I was overreacting, or like just not being allowed, just as Suzanne said, not being allowed to have or express or show any sort of emotion. Mm-hmm. And so like if I think about being really uncomfortable with my kids, but particularly my older child, when she's having a meltdown, like, is that because I kind of never had the support that I should have had? Is that like, I'm trying to make the connection of what's making me so uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about your child's meltdown.
Well, she's quite emotional, and she can have meltdowns about anything. It's funny because in the last couple of weeks I've reacted differently, so it hasn't escalated as it used to. Mm-hmm. But she just loses it and just cries, like wails.
Okay, so how does that make you feel when you hear
really that? Uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah. So
when you say really uncomfortable, describe that for me.
Like I need to fix it, make her feel better, but don't know how. And then I try different things, and if it's not making her feel better, then I get frustrated, and then I get frustrated with myself, and then I probably get frustrated with her.
Yeah. So when you say I feel frustrated because I don't know how to fix it, when you say I don't know how to fix it, what does that make you feel?
Well, probably that I'm not doing a good job. I'm not doing what I could be.
Okay. So when you say to yourself, I'm not doing a good job, how does that make you feel?
Bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes you feel bad. So what does it, when you say bad, what do you mean by that?
I think what it makes me feel is, I think I think where it leads me to, if I really try and think about it, is that I feel like I'm parenting or, doing things that my mom and dad did that I promised myself I never would.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you promised yourself you would never do that. And when you break that promise to yourself, how does that make you feel?
Probably like I'm failing.
That you're failing? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So now that you say, if you say to yourself in your mind, I'm a failure, how does that feel for you?
Yeah, it feels pretty deep.
Yeah. So what we want to do is when you can't help your daughter, when she's struggling, you're getting frustrated because ultimately underneath all of that, you feel like a failure. So that's hard. That's hard to feel like that. When you feel like that, you don't want to feel like that. That feels like shit. So you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get angry. Get annoyed at her, and this is all your fault because you don't want to take that on. 100%. So what we want to do is, you've sort of found an underlying emotion here, an underlying belief that you have about yourself. I'm a failure. So what you want to do is find where that belief grew, and you might think, oh, when I didn't pass my VCE, I felt like a failure. Okay, it built stronger at that point in time. Prior to that, when I couldn't learn when I didn't get my pen license, everyone else in the class got their pen license except me. I felt like a failure. Oh, created that belief. So that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to try and go back and feel those times when that arose in you, and where it will lie in, usually 95% of the time, between that 0 and 7 years is the first moment where you felt that belief created, I'm a failure. And it could have been something that a parent said to you accidentally, like, you could have brought a picture home and they didn't, that's terrible, you're not good at that, and all of a sudden, I'm not good. I failed, something as little as that. But then, because it's sort of like this underlying, is this true? Is that a belief? Then the next time someone says that, or something that gets cemented, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So what your child now is saying, you're feeling out of control. I can't fix this. That means I'm a failure. And so every time I feel that way, I'm going to get triggered, because that makes me feel really terrible. So that's like, now you've got the awareness about it. When you're in those situations, what could you say to yourself instead of going into that? Because it is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get your child to stop doing that. And I know that, I want to try and fix. I'm a fixer too. So I'm like, why can't I fix this? Why is this? I'm not good enough. Mine is I'm not good enough. That's what mine is. So if yours is failure, what I want you to think about is in those moments when that starts to feel too much, what am I going to say to myself instead? I need to think of an affirmation. I need to think of a positive thought, so that I could start dismantling this belief and start putting a new belief system in. And when you start creating this new belief system, and it's going to take time. I'm not telling you this is going to happen overnight, because this is strong. This has been with you for however many years, that you've been on this planet since when it began. So, a good 20, 30 years probably. So to dismantle it, it's about, as soon as you're aware of it, saying, hold on, no, I'm not believing that anymore. I'm doing the best I can in this situation. I'm doing the best I can in this. Whatever it is, your next step from here is to write one word or one affirmation or one sentence and stick it up all over the house. So, or if you're a visual person, or put it on your phone as a visual reminder. You want to practice this outside those moments of overwhelm, of when that's happening with your daughter. You want to start saying this on repeat to yourself. So every time you drink a glass of water, I'm doing the best I can. Whatever it is that you want to say. And then when you're in the moment, because you've been practicing this affirmation to yourself, this new neural pathway, this new thought, what will happen is you'll get there, you'll start feeling frustrated. I can't fix this. I'm, about to, hold on a second. Affirmation. I'm doing the best I can in this moment. I'm doing the best I can in this moment.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I also think I've just realized that why because I'm the older child, and there's a lot of similarities between me and my older daughter, I think, when I was a kid. So that's probably why it triggers me more than,
And you're probably going into a childhood belief that I didn't get to do that, so how you can't do that. Like, how do you have a meltdown? I was never allowed to cry like this, and just, so a lot of it's like,
thank you.
No problem.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
That's fine.
Well, it sort of is the segue to the next thing. So
it is. That's perfect.
Time.
We'll go to the next slide. Dylan. Sorry, Suzanne. I don't know why I called you my daughter's
name. That's all right.
I think I had her on my mind because we were just talking about the eldest. All right. Do you want to go with
Yeah, I
this?
like
one?
this one.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one, and this is what I had to learn too the hard way. Stacey said, "You're not alone." It's learning to accept the as is, and this was a term that we learned from Dr. Savari, and I never knew what that meant. The as is. What is this as is? But basically, it's like, what is the reality? So if we were to sort of, look at the situation when we've got a child crying in front of us, it's saying, okay, what is my reality right now? Okay, my child's having a meltdown. And it's learning to accept that that is the situation right now. I can't run away from it. I'm just going to be here and watch the storm. It's like when a thunderstorm comes and you see the trees outside, the trees aren't running away. They're just like, here it comes, and they're just blowing in the wind. And so it's like us just learning to stay grounded in the storm, okay? And then it's accepting, how am I feeling? So I don't know if you saw the post today. There was like a check-in as a parent. If you're feeling yourself getting agitated by what you're seeing, just go, whoa, what's going on for me right now? Oh, I'm feeling frustrated that they're having a meltdown. This is making me feel really awkward. I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I don't feel good about this. I just want to run away. So just checking in, what feelings are coming up for you? What guest is coming through your little home? Because remember, guests, the feelings are just like guests. They come and they go. And then realizing, what is my child's reality right now? Okay, so my child's just thrown themselves on the floor. Maybe they don't want to get dressed for school. Maybe they don't like the food that I served on the table for them to eat for lunch. Maybe they're upset about the socks. They don't like the feel of the fabric. Maybe they're upset by the jumper that I've put onto them. It's just like, what is my child's reality? What is the fact? What am I seeing right now? And then accepting, it's okay for my child to have this behavior. They're not happy in this situation. This is their way to express that they're upset. They can't express it in words, so they might have to flay their arms out. They might have to kick and scream. They might cry because, as Amanda was saying before, they get to a certain point and they flip the lid because they don't have the logic center to use the words that they're trying to say to us. So it might become a physical expression. And if we can understand that, their brains are still developing, they're not developed till 20 something. So they're still a child. We have to lower our expectations of what we think they should be doing at a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. They're just children. They're just processing these strong feelings. So I got my cat behind.
Yeah, I was like, what is that noise?
Sorry. He's rubbing up against it. He's so cheeky. And then lastly is learning to connect with the child. So instead of like running away from it, leaning in, being curious, you might get down to their level, eye to eye, lowering your voice, soften the gaze, and then just watching, just seeing, what do they need? Do they need a hug? Do they need you just to be quiet and not give them any direction of what to do? Because they're offline anyway. So let's face it. I think you just, at this stage, especially with Stacey, when your child is crying and wailing, let her just have her little show, her little moment, and you're just the observer, the audience, because there's no need for you to fix it in that moment. She's not asking you to fix it. She's just having an expression. It's an energy. Remember, everything's energy. So it's an energy that has to come up, and it has to be seen, has to be witnessed. And then when she comes back down, then you can talk. But I think I've learned that with my daughter. She can just like flip her lid really quickly. And I've learned over time not to take it personally. It's just a moment in time. This too shall pass. That's my mantra. But if you can just learn to detach from that feeling of having to fix it or to stop the show, just let the show be, let it go. Because at the end of the day, the child's not waking up to go, I'm going to do something to annoy mum right now. That's not their intention. They're just trying to express. We've talked about this. Every behavior is a form of expression of communication. And if you can take that your own meaning out of it and just see it for what it is in the as is, it just makes it a whole lot easier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to share this. We didn't have this in this slideshow, but I've created it for another slideshow, and I wanted to add it in here because I think it's really good to help when there is a storm. So for example, with Stacey and her daughter having the meltdown, this is how do I stay calm during the storm. So the first thing we want to do is we just want to stop. We want to stop talking, we want to stop doing, we want to stop fixing. And if we need to, if we really need to, we want to remove ourselves from the situation. If you were so far gone that the next thing you're going to do is explode like a volcano, then remove yourself from the situation. But what happens is when we keep talking, when we keep doing, when we keep fixing, it's like putting fuel on the fire, and it's making it bigger and bigger and bigger. So when we stop that, it's like we're stopping the fuel. So we're the fire might still be burning, but we're not making it bigger, if that makes sense. So stopping allows you to have a moment to regulate. So once you've stopped, then what you want to do is actually find a way to regulate, to soothe yourself. So the first thing I always do is go to the breath. The breath is great because it is a natural calming tool. So it turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, your calming rest digest system. So just taking some deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. If you can do your out breath as your longer breath, because a regulating breath is the out breath's longer. So that's a calming breath. Energizing breath is your out breath is shorter than your in breath. So if I was doing a calm breath, I'd be breathing in and then out. Breath is much longer. For if I needed to energize myself, I would breathe in for a long period of time, like, and then so I'm bringing energy into the body. So that's what I mean by different breathing does different things. So you want a regulating breath. So breathing in slow and breathing out slow. So you're breathing. And then what you want to do is you want to try and find a way to come back to the present moment. So that's what the breath is doing. The breath is regulating, and coming back to the present moment is to ground yourself, engaging your five senses. So if you've got a good grounding practice that you use, you can just imagine maybe, yourself being a tree and your feet being the roots, and your roots going down and feeling that grounding energy. But if you don't do that or don't practice that, then all you need to do is engage your five senses. What can I see? What can I hear? What can I taste? So because what happens is when you do that, you turn your logic brain on. Your emotion brain can't answer those things. But because what you see is not emotional, like I see a bird or I see a bowl or I see a pen or I see a phone, there's no emotional attachment to them. So the amygdala calms down. So that's what you're wanting to do in that stage. Then what you want to do is you want to help yourself feel safe. Because once you've stopped talking, once you've grounded and soothed yourself, you want to let your amygdala know that you're okay. You can turn off. You don't have, there's no tiger coming to get me. The stress can be turned off. So to think of a way to become safe, it could be, you might use a word. So like with Stacey, I've just gotten her, because she's already got a belief and she knows what it is, we want to create a safe belief for her. We want to create something that's going to flip that for her. So it could be an affirmation. It could be just a word. It could be a memory. So a memory is something, it could be something in particular, like when your child was born, or it could be somewhere. It's a memory that makes you smile, that makes you feel good, that reconnects you. If you're needing a memory about your child because you need to see them in a different light, so them being born might be a good one, or them sleeping in their cot or something like that might be a good one. Or if it's just something in general, I find for me, I like to imagine myself in a forest. So my grounding, my safe is like I'm in the forest. I can hear the trees rustling and the sun is there, and there's these huge big trees, and I can feel the energy of the trees like vibrating and coming into my body, and my feet on the ground and just feeling the earth beneath me. I can smell the woody scents. I can hear the birds. So that's where I go to. That's my safe place, because I feel really grounded and safe there. That obviously might not be your safe place, but this is what I want you to think about of what am I going to set up for myself? So to help myself in those moments, because what we want to do is we need to get ourselves back online so that we don't keep reacting, because this is what's happening at the moment is something happens and we react. Something happens and we react. Something happens and we react. So this is a tool that helps to train the brain to not react. It helps to train the brain to go, okay, I am safe. Because this is the only time we react and have these big emotional things because we feel unsafe in some way. That's why we react. So if we can help ourselves feel safe, and we have to go through a procedure to do that. We've got to stop. If we continue, we're just getting caught up in the story, the drama, the thinking, the whatever. So we've got to stop everything. Then we've got to make ourselves feel comfortable. So breath, I'm here, this is okay. And then how am I feeling safe? So thinking of something that helps you feel safe. And then using that whenever you start yourself starting to feel worked up. Does that make sense? Is that a good tool for everybody? Is that something you feel like you could start practicing from tomorrow?
Good. Good. Print that and put it on your fridge.
Yeah. All
good.
right. Okay. Do you want to go through this one, Suzanne?
To be your child's emotion coach. So here we are. We're now going to help them by co-regulating and learning to self-regulate, but be their coach. So we'll give you some examples. You could use the expression, it's okay to be upset. This is one that I've been practicing a lot with my daughter, because in the old days, I'd be like, don't cry. I was doing the opposite, like trying to shut it down. And now I'm like, yes, express your anger. Yes, do you want to have a cry? Have a cry. Especially with the pen license. That was just like really irritating her that she couldn't get it. And I remember she got in the car and her lip was quivering. I said, you're really upset, aren't you? She said, yeah. I said, if you want to have a cry, go for it. She's like, okay. Because I didn't want it to stay bottled up. I really have realized over time that it's important to express your feelings. So I encourage it when she's upset. I catch myself first saying, don't cry, and then I hear myself, no, do cry. Yes, if you need to cry. Like I actually say, it's okay. It's important. Let it out. And then she feels so much better after it, because it's like something worse than having to hold it in. And our generation, we weren't allowed to. So I know how you feel. So it's okay to be upset. You might say like, oh, you seem really mad. It's okay to be mad. So this is how we teach emotional literacy. This is how we teach emotional intelligence. When we start to use the words of what is being felt. Then the child knows, oh, that's what mad feels like. That's what anger feels like. That's what sadness feels like. They can connect their own dots. So it's good to let out anger, or it's good to let out, feeling sad. Even your face might show sadness. Oh, you've got tears in your eyes, you've got a lump in your throat. You might feel nervous. It's okay to feel these. I think the key in this whole journey is learning to validate the feelings and emotions. And the more we do that, the more it becomes their language as well. And then saying, I'm here for you. Because that's all they need, really. They just need to know that we've got their back no matter what, that we can express and show them unconditional love. And that's where our relationships with our parents was probably a little bit different, because it was conditional love. It's like, don't, go to your room. There was a condition. I don't want to see you crying. That's bad behavior. It was really about duality, wasn't it? It was like good and bad. So that's where we started to get this idea, oh, okay. When I cry, I'm not good enough. Or if I'm a naughty child in your eyes, I'm not good enough. So it's learning to just say, I'm here for you no matter what, okay? And it's okay to feel this, right? So that child might express anger, but then we can say, but it's not okay to hit your brother. Do you understand? Because that's where you're setting up these boundaries and limits, because it's okay to feel that, but we can't go expressing it by hurting others or hurting ourselves, that's not the way to express the anger that is showing up in us. So this is where we start using the sentences. It's okay to feel da-da-da, but it's not okay to do this, whatever the action is. We're trying to teach a limit and a boundary, okay? So that teaches respect, not only of the self, but of others that we love. And reminding ourselves and them that this feeling won't last forever. So that's the famous mantra, this too shall pass, this feeling won't last forever. It feels like it in the moment. Like I'm sure for Stacey, it must feel like, oh my God, it's going to go for 10 minutes because, you know, you've seen it a few times, the episode, but it's realizing that it's not going to last forever. It's a moment in time and we just have to be with it, whatever shows up. And then Amanda does that all the time, the let's breathe. You know, I know with my kids, she's like, I don't want to breathe. She's not into that.
My
and
kids
that's okay.
don't want to breathe either, but I always recommend it. Okay, let's breathe. And if they don't breathe, I just breathe by myself.
Do it for yourself. And that's probably what it is. You're self-regulating yourself. And so sometimes saying it out loud, let's breathe, whether they do it or not, that's their business. And you can't force like someone, I'm breathing, so you have to breathe with me. Then you've just lost the whole plot of what it is to do the conscious parenting. If they follow, they follow. But you know, everything's energy. I believe that you, by even doing your own breathing, the children that are watching you going, whoa, mummy's just, you know, doing her breath and she's calming down, they start to sense that, you know, your vibration or your energy is starting to drop down. It's starting to feel less heightened, I suppose. And then in that last bit, we've got here, you are strong and kind. So, you know, no matter what comes out of it, I think what I've learned in time is that we really need to be mindful of the words that we use about our children. So, you know, keep reminding them that, okay, that was a moment in time. Where can we learn from this? But reminding them that you're still a strong and kind person. You're not bad for what happened. So like in Christy's instance, you know, picking up Rory and he's slapping a kid, you know, it could go, you know, most traditional parents would be like, that's naughty and that was bad of you. But if you can just go, okay, that was a moment in time. There was a form of communication there. We're not highlighting the slap. We're as parents, we're going underneath the iceberg and going, okay, so he's slapped that child. That's unfortunate, unpleasant. And what language can we use to still make him feel like he's not a bad person? You know, he's still a good kid. You know, that moment in time, he shouldn't be defined in that moment in time just for that. You understand? Like everybody should be given a second chance or some opportunities. I mean, he's still little. Like for me, that to me is just like a boy expressing something. I don't really go into it because he's only 2.5 or 3, but I think it's like as children get older, we just have to keep reminding them that those behaviors, it doesn't define them. And if we can keep building them up, and if you read the book Superpowered, you know, it's all about building up that sense of presence and originality and wholeness and energize and resilience. If we can start building their own ability and self-worth, then when those things do happen in time or they make an error or a mistake, they're not going to kick themselves, you know, or feel bad. They raise themselves and they go, okay, what will I do differently? Where can I learn from this? You know, everyone should be given a chance to learn from these mistakes, or I don't even like saying the word mistakes, these opportunities that, you know, they're lessons in life. This is life, you know, it's all about lessons. So I think our job as an emotional coach is just saying to ourselves, how can I be their ally? How can I be side by side with them? Because I'm no greater than my child. I keep reminding myself, you know, I'm still learning. This is the teacher-student relationship. I learn from them, they learn from him. I'm not greater than them because I'm 40-something. Like I'm still a child with him as well. So she's growing up as well. So it's just being able to understand that by you coaching yourself, you're going to be a great coach for them as well, and vice versa.
Excellent. Okay. All right, we are on time tonight.
Yeah, that's really rare.
That is rare. That's good. Okay, so this week's home activities, we've got, okay, so those 2 inner child journal activities that we just did tonight. So if you didn't get to finish them, we highly recommend that you continue completing those at home. And you might have some extra situations from when you're a child that you'd like to break down and work through and try and work back to and find out what is it now that's triggering you from your childhood. And we recommend trying to view the world with a different lens this week and try and see things as pleasant and unpleasant, instead of clinging to those moments that you don't want to end and resisting the ones that you're not enjoying. And remembering just to let go and accept that this is my as is. I may not like it, it may be unpleasant, but this is what I'm in, and I'm going to breathe, I'm going to re-anchor, and I'm just going to be here in this moment. And then continue with your daily meditation and your active self-care, and continuing with, loving yourself and thinking about all the stuff we talked about with validating yourself and being your best friend. Connection with your child this week is being really mindful of the words you use. So as being that emotion coach, when we're emotionally coaching them, we're thinking about what we're saying, we're thinking about the tone we're saying in it, we're thinking about the body language, how our face is looking when we're doing that. So helping our child to regulate. If we're not regulated, there's no way we can help them regulate. So helping ourselves with our tools, and then helping them with those tools also. Continue with the descriptive praise, which is really talking about all the things you enjoy, you're loving that they're doing. So, oh, thank you for putting your shoes away. I didn't trip on them today, and that makes me really happy. Or thank you for bringing your bowl up from the dinner table. That really helped me out. That was one less job that I have to do, and it saved me lots of time. So you're being really descriptive and saying exactly what it is you saw that you enjoyed. And then continue with the special time, whether it's at 2 minutes at bedtime talking about their day, or putting a timer on for 5 minutes, or having some, or maybe 5 minutes with one child one night, 5 minutes the next, or even doing like dates. So once a week having a 30-minute date with one of your children, and making some tea and cake, and then sitting in the bedroom and chatting or whatever, or doing something you enjoy together. Finding thinking about your child's buckets and thinking about what you can do to fill them up. I think we're actually going to be doing a little bit more on that next week. And then we continue with that emotional coaching, using the winner method, the meltdown technique, and bringing that gratitude into the family to bring that positivity and that focus on the good, that even when times are difficult and we're struggling, there's still things that we can focus on that are good in our life. And then this journaling activity this week is about the pleasant and unpleasant, and continuing with what you're grateful for. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to introduce with your support buddy, if it's ever needed. This is something that I'm doing in a group that I'm part of at the moment. And at first I was like, what is this? I'm never going to use it. And then I actually used it, and I found it very, very beneficial. So I thought I'd share it with you. It's called Set a Timer. And what Set a Timer is when you're in the middle of one of those big moments and you're really struggling and you're feeling like, Stacey, I have the same feelings as you. I need to fix this. I can't fix this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I've had this situation happen so many times. And sometimes when, I'm really tired and I've had a hard day and I'm just not in a good headspace, it just gets too much for me. And I'm just, I can't, I try my practices and nothing's working. And so I always remove myself from the situation because I know that I'm going to explode. So, but I haven't had a sort of tool to use to try and help me with that in that moment until I found this Set a Timer. And what Set a Timer is when you're in one of those moments, you contact your support buddy. And what you say to them is I need to set a timer. And the other person isn't there to give any advice, isn't there to do anything other than to hold space. And so what they do is the person who says I need to set a timer, the other person sets a random time between 2 minutes and 15 minutes. So they'll go 6 minutes and 23 seconds. And they will set a timer on their phone or wherever they are for 6 minutes, 23 seconds. They'll say 6 minutes, 23 seconds, go. And then the other person, depending on what they want to do, it's their time to release what's inside of them. Now, they might release that by texting, oh, my child's doing this, it's doing that, oh, I can't deal with this, blah, 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 blah. Or it might be journaling, writing it down, writing it all down. It might be punching a pillow, smashing a pillow on the bed, you know, kicking some, I don't know, whatever it is you need for that 6 minutes, 23 seconds to release that stress, to release that worry, to release that anxiety. That's what you're going to do. And it's a set time. Then the other person, if you're the timer, so you're the timer, what you're doing is every sort of 2 to 3 minutes, you're just sending the time message of saying 4 minutes 21 left, 2 minutes 30 left. Now, if the person is writing to you, you don't want to give any advice, but you can say, I can see you're struggling, or I can see this is hard for you. I'm here for you. That's all you need to say. I'm here for you. So the other person knows that you're holding the space for them. Because some people do like interaction, as in that, oh, can you hear me? Because if there's like nothing coming back, sometimes they'll think that you can't hear me. But that's only for people that are usually typing. If you're writing in a journal or kicking a pillow or whatever, you're probably not looking for any type of interaction. So this week, if you get overwhelmed by a situation, I recommend you send a text to your buddy just saying, set a timer. That's it, nothing else. Set a timer. And then the other person goes, whatever the time is, 2 minutes 40, go. Then that person does whatever they need to do. The other person checks in, 1 minute 20, time's finished. And the timer at the end will say, do you need more time? And then the other person will say, no, I'm good, I'm all right. And then the timer person will say, what is your next step? And what that means is you need to do something small for yourself to reset. And that could be just getting a glass of water. That could be going outside and smelling a flower. That could be, I don't know, smelling an essential oil. One tiny little step to help yourself feel yourself again. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
The reason why I share this with you guys is because I had one of these last week or the week before, where I was just like, I don't know. And they told me about this in this course that I'm doing. And I'm like, right, I'm going to try this. I didn't think it would work. I was like, what is this? And so I did it. And I'm a writer. So I was writing text. And they didn't say anything. They just kept writing the time back to me. And I was like, okay, they're still there. Great. Text. And then she said, time's finished, breathe. And then I was like, oh, shit, I feel good. I'd let it out. I released it. It was like, I just needed to let it out. And then she goes, what's your next step? And I said, oh, I'm just going to go outside, because it was a really sunny day, and just feel the sun on my face for a minute. And I did that. And then I went back because I'd left my daughter in her situation, went back, and I was able to deal with the situation, stay calm, stay anchored. And I was in such a better headspace, and the situation lasted for another 5 minutes and it was done. Had I stayed there in the struggle, and I could feel it within myself, and I couldn't, this is for when nothing's working. You've tried the stop, breathe, anchor. You've tried you're trying, and you're just like, nah, it means it's too much. Your cup is so full with the stress. It needs a release. You need to release it in some way, but you don't want to release it to your child. So this is a healthy way of doing it. Now, if you obviously don't feel comfortable doing that with a partner, you can just set your own timer. So you can put it on your phone and set your own timer. And then just for that period of time, hold that space for yourself and do whatever it is you need. Okay. But I found that this really helped me last week or the week before when I did it, because I didn't realize how much stress I was holding in my body, and just being able to speak and release it allowed it to dissipate. And then I felt much better. So yeah, highly recommend that. If you need that, use that with your buddy this week.
There's a time. Now,
I do want to say one last thing before we go into our mantra. this Friday is retreat night. So, so what we trying, if you can, find a place in your house where you won't be disturbed, get comfy. So if you want to get, you know, in your bed and be in your PJs, that's completely fine. Have some candles on in your room, put some essential oils on, make your space sacred and special. You need to all tell your partners, or if you don't have a partner, get a friend or a family member over to your house to say that I am not in the house. Like, you're out of the house, so you're not available to babysit, you're not available to look after your child. This is your time for you. Now, Amber, I can see your son there. I don't know what your son's name. Sebastian, next Friday, this Friday coming up, Mummy's having a special date with us, and no children are allowed. So you have to have a special date with Daddy. You and Daddy can watch a movie and have popcorn while Mummy has her special time. The face. I know, Sebastian, it's so hard because Mummy's so beautiful and you want to be with her all the time, but Mummy needs a little bit of special time. So yeah, so what you know, please book it in your diary, please book it in your carer, whoever the other carer is who's going to look after your child, book it in their diary and say, you need to act like I am not in this house. That's what's going on here. If you need to hide in your car and set your car up like a sleep out with the cushions and blankets, please do that. I don't care what it is.
Or they're really desperate. Could they be really sneaky and go to their mum and dad's house and just hide?
Whatever you need to do to have this time. Obviously, if we were running it live, which we have in the past, we get you guys all together so that you're away from family. But obviously, we didn't know what was happening, and we've opened this up, and we have Christy in Queensland, so she obviously wouldn't be able to get here. But we still want to make this time sacred and make it special for you. So on Friday, we want you to be comfy. We want you to wear comfy clothes. We want you to feel like, oh, this is actually some me time. And then we're going to lead you through some meditation and is there a journaling activity, Suzanne?
Yeah, I think there is.
There is. So just make sure you bring your journal with you, because there is a journaling activity
as well. Yeah, I think you'll be right. Now, by the way, so Christy, your parcel is on its way.
Thank you.
You get it, you do not open it. I mean, you can obviously strip away the plastic, but there's a white envelope. Don't open anything till next Monday. Is that right, Amanda?
Yeah, so Suzanne's, we've got some packages that we've created that are coming out to you.
I'm doing a drop by on this Friday. Now, if you're not home, don't panic, because I'll just leave it on your porch or your doorstep, but I'll probably tap the door around morning or probably mid-morning, so I know all your addresses and coming out to
the
stalk.
stalker's coming checking in on you. So she's going to drop off the parcels, but we've you sent Christy's express post.
Yeah, hers is done. That was Friday, so yeah,
so you should receive it soon. And so in your pack there'll be a few things that we'll open the packs all together on Monday together and go through everything there. So have your packs ready for that Monday, but for this Friday we'll see you in your PJs. Any questions? Now, the link for the Friday is not this link. There is a retreat link because it starts at a different time, so we just kept it separate. So yeah, so please make sure you don't use this link. I'm pretty much 99% sure that the email that gets sent out for today's class will have that link in it for the retreat.
Good.
I'll quickly, when we jump off, because I've got it automated, I'll just quickly jump on and check it, that before it gets sent out, that it is in there. So you've got it. Any questions about the retreat or what you need to do or bring or anything like that? No? Everyone's good. Okay. Jen, make sure, would your Angela's buddy, we'll obviously send her a message too, but when you do a message, if you can just say, hey, remember, you've got a date with yourself on Friday night, get your husband to look after the kids, no kids allowed.
So it starts at 8 o'clock, correct?
It starts at 8 o'clock, yeah. So it's 8 o'clock, so hopefully more children will be in bed by 8, so that you've got some time. I know not everyone's children are. Mine like to stay up late too, but at least I have a husband.
It's only 8 to 9:30, right?
Yeah.
Normally this goes a lot longer, so we've just done half the length.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty. Okay. So let us
The mantra.
put our mantra on. Oh no.
What?
Where is the song?
Oh no, you've lost your little.
The little doodar's gone off the
I
screen.
have to go get the drummer.
Yeah, you have to go get the drum. Quickly run. Look, we're going to get a live show from Suzanne tonight. You ladies are lucky. Okay, so while she's there, I'll just say, so tonight's class was about learning to let go of all that no longer serves us. It was about moving to a mind state of non-attachment by using pleasant and unpleasant, remembering to support yourself through self-validation and support your child by being their emotion coach.
On the spot, I haven't pulled this out for a long time.
That's all right. Does anyone want to share their biggest takeaway while we're waiting for Suzanne to set up? What was one thing that really touched or resonated with them tonight?
Just being the emotional coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need to work
And
on that
emotional
more.
coach for yourself also.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You ready, Suzanne?
Yeah, let me just see if I got my fingers, otherwise I'll have to play on the. Okay.
I'm just going to...
May I be conscious
Just in all my actions.
May I be wise in all of my responses. May I be filled with love and kindness and compassion. May I be better connected to myself. May you be conscious in all your actions. May you be wise in all of your responses. May you be filled with love and kindness and compassion. May you be better connected to yourself. May we be conscious in all our actions. May we be wise in all of our responses. May we be filled with love and kindness and compassion. May we be better connected to each other, one another.
Okay, so we've obviously... Oh, we were on time. What happened, Suzanne?
You crapped on and talked a lot.
I know. I was like, don't speak too soon.
I know. We're on the last slide at least.
Make sure you actually, I think you should do like a little worksheet or something about the set the timer, you know, just like what you just told us.
I think I put it in this week's
Cool.
newsletter, but I will just double check. I will double check so that I've got set the timer in there.
Yeah.
Set the timer. I have a feeling I put it in there, and I'll double check that I've got the retreat link. Okay, I'll double check that once we jump off. So we've still got 10 minutes. If anyone has a problem that you'd like Suzanne and I to go through, like we did with Christy last week, is there something that has arisen this week that you've had difficulty with and that you'd like maybe some a different perspective on it, or maybe some insight on what could be behind what's happened that Suzanne and I could maybe investigate for you? Because that's what we're here for, ladies. Use us while you have us. No, everyone's all good? All right, perfect. All right, well, we'll see you on Friday night. If you have any questions or anything before then, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Enjoy your week, ladies, of pleasant and unpleasant.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Amanda, can you just stay on?
Yeah, I'll stay on, no problems.
We just need to talk about Friday.
Yeah.
So